They thought their hate would bury you. They thought the venom in their words, the daggers in their eyes, the shadows of their envy would suffocate you. They expected your silence, your surrender, your disappearance into the ashes of their cruelty. But what they failed to see was that hate is fire, and fire doesn't only destroy, it forges. Every insult, every betrayal, every whisper behind your back was heat against your steel. They thought they were breaking you when all along they were hammering you into something unbreakable. The nights they celebrated your downfall, you were in the dark, rebuilding brick by brick, bone by bone, scar by scar. They thought pain was poison. You turned it into fuel. They thought rejection was a grave. You turned it into a throne. They thought loneliness was a death sentence. You made it your monastery, your war room, your sanctuary, where strength grew in silence and clarity sharpened like a blade. They don't understand. They thought killing your joy would kill your spirit. They thought stripping away your allies would leave you defenseless. They thought mocking you in public would break your dignity. Instead, it taught you the one lesson they could never learn, that survival is not about hiding from the storm, it's about becoming the storm. Hate didn't end you, it baptized you. It burned away your weakness, it hardened your resolve, it forced you to rise above the limits they chained around your neck. And now, when you walk into the room, they don't see the broken one they tried to bury. They see the weapon their hate created. They see the shadow they can't outrun, the power they can't deny, the resilience they can't replicate. You are not the victim they imagined. You are the monument they accidentally built with every strike they aimed at you. Stronger, colder, untouchable. And that is the punchline they'll never laugh at. They thought hate was a weapon meant to pierce your heart, but it only carved out more room for fire. They thought betrayal would twist you into something small, bitter, desperate. Instead, it lit the fuse. You didn't crumble. You detonated. Every rumor, every snake in the grass, every smirk when they thought you were finished, it all pressed against your ribs until your chest couldn't hold the explosion anymore. And when it burst, you weren't weak. You weren't dead. You were reborn with a grin that said, "Is that all you've got?" Understand this. They trained you without knowing it. Every stab in the back was a drill. Every closed door was a lesson. Every humiliation was a blueprint. While they laughed, you were sculpting muscle out of scars, patience out of isolation, madness into discipline. They thought their cruelty was a cage, but cages don't hold beasts. They sharpen their claws against the bars until the sound alone terrifies their captors. And when you finally stepped back into the light, they froze. They saw the silhouette of something they couldn't recognize. Not the victim they'd planned your story to end with. Not the forgotten name they expected you to be. No, what stood in front of them was the aftermath of their own hate, a creature they made but can't control. The very storm they prayed would wash you away is now the storm that answers to you. Their hate was supposed to bury you in silence. Instead, it made your voice thunder. Oh, here's the truth they choke on. You didn't just survive their hate, you weaponized it. You took the ashes of everything they burned down and built an empire they can't touch. You took the venom they spit and brewed it into medicine so strong it made you immune to their poison. You became something they can't define, can't diagnose, can't dismiss. Every time they look at you now, they see the ghost of what they tried to kill staring back with eyes that say, "I remember everything." They thought they were clever, playing God with your life, stacking the odds, pulling strings, closing every door. But when you came back, you weren't a player on their board anymore. You were the fire that burned the board itself. Their rules no longer apply to you. Their approval no longer matters. Their hate no longer wounds. You are beyond their reach, beyond their categories, beyond their control. And that terrifies them more than your existence ever did. You want to know why? Because they built you. They engineered the very thing that now destroys their illusions. Their hate was the hammer. Their betrayal was the forge. Their rejection was the fire. And now every time they speak your name, it tastes like iron and smoke, because they can't deny what you've become. You're not the same fragile thing they thought they could break. You're the aftermath, the sharpened edge, the unstoppable force, the nightmare that survived the fire. And the best part, every single time they look at you, they're forced to admit the ugly truth. Their hate didn't bury you, it crowned you. Now you walk with the weight of legend in your steps. Not because you asked for it, but because they forced it on you. Their hate became prophecy, their lies became scripture, their betrayal became the ink that wrote your saga. They thought they were ending a chapter, but what they really did was summon a whole new book, a gospel of survival carved out of blood, fire, and defiance. You didn't just endure, you transcended. And now you move like something ancient, something inevitable, something they can't kill because it isn't flesh anymore, it's myth. They see it in your eyes, that apocalyptic glow that says you've been through hell and made it your kingdom. They hear it in your laugh, the echo of a storm that refuses to die out. They feel it in the silence that follows you, because every room knows the gravity you bring when you step inside. You are no longer human in their eyes. You are a reckoning, a walking reminder that hate doesn't always destroy, it resurrects. And when the ground shakes beneath their feet, when their walls crack and their empires tremble, they'll know it isn't by accident. It's the aftermath of every stone they threw, every curse they spat, every time they celebrated your death too early. You became the storm they feared, the apocalypse they joked about, the nightmare they never believed would wake. You're not just stronger, you are the monument to everything they failed to destroy. Biblical, because their hate didn't just forge you, it unleashed a judgment they can't escape. They thought they were burying a person, but what rose from that grave was something eternal, something written into the marrow of existence. You became fire walking, thunder speaking, a living testament that pain doesn't end stories, it rewrites them in lightning. Their hate summoned a plague they can't cure, a flood they can't contain, a force so relentless that even time bends around it. Now when they gather in their circles whispering about how you're still standing, they don't call you by your name anymore, they call you an omen, a sign, a prophecy fulfilled. Because in their deepest fears they know they created you. They lit the fire, but they forgot what happens when fire spreads. They sharpened the blade, but they never thought about who would wield it. They poured poison in your veins, and now every drop of it has turned into holy venom that drips from your tongue when you speak truth. And here's the twist that crushes them most. You don't even need revenge. Your existence is the revenge. Every breath you take mocks their failure. Every step you walk is a sermon to their downfall. Every time you rise higher, their hate echoes back at them like a curse they cast on themselves. They thought their hate killed you. Instead, it resurrected something far more terrifying, a living myth, a storm with a face, a reckoning dressed in flesh and fire. So hear it now, the prophecy they wrote with their own hands, the doom stitched into the very fabric of their schemes. Every sneer, every dagger, every whispered curse they sent your way has returned to them like thunder rolling back across a poisoned sky. They thought hate would finish you, but all it did was summon the storm that now hunts them. Their curses were prayers they didn't know they were making, and those prayers were answered through you. You are the storm they cannot outlast, the flood they cannot dam, the fire that does not burn out. And every empire they built on your pain is trembling, because deep down they know foundations laid in hate can't stand against something reborn in power. They'll call it fate, they'll call it bad luck, they'll call it judgment. But you and I know the truth, it's just the bill finally coming due. Look around, those who laughed are coughing on the smoke of their own lies, those who plotted are choking on the chains they forged. Those who celebrated your end now tremble at your return. This is no accident, this is the prophecy fulfilled, the end they summoned the day they chose hate over humanity. You didn't just survive, you became their reckoning. And no matter how fast they run, no matter how deep they hide, their downfall is already written in your survival. And so the crescendo begins, the sky darkens not in metaphor but in truth. Their towers built on your suffering crack and sway like brittle bones. Their voices, once loud with mockery, scatter into silence because the storm doesn't argue, it consumes. Their laughter, their arrogance, their certainty, it all sounds like echoes in a tomb now. They stand ankle deep in the flood of their own making, watching as the fire they set turns into an inferno they can't put out. They thought hate would be their victory song, but it became the drumbeat of their collapse. They thought your end would be their beginning, but it was their countdown. Every strike they landed on you was a nail hammered into their own coffin, and now the lid is closing slowly, relentlessly, with your shadow towering over it. They don't just fear you, they fear what you've become. A living myth, a judgment wrapped in flesh, a storm in human form that answers to no master and bows to no crown. And when the dust clears, when the ruins of their world lie scattered across the ground, you will stand there not broken, not bitter, but eternal. Proof that hate cannot kill what was meant to rise. Proof that betrayal cannot silence a voice carved from fire. Proof that you were never the victim in their story, you were the apocalypse hiding in plain sight. Picture it, smoke curling from the wreckage of everything they swore would outlast you. Their monuments crumble into dust. Their lies scatter like ash in the wind. The stage they built to humiliate you, gone. The crown they denied you, melted. The system they tried to bury you in, split open, gutted by the very truth they laughed at. And there you stand, not in the shadows anymore, but in the open, scarred, grinning, untouchable. The air is heavy with the silence of defeat. They can't look at you without choking on the reality that their hate was never your end. It was your origin. You've become the final chapter they can't rewrite, the ending they can't escape, the mirror they can't stand to face. They thought their cruelty was power, but all it did was crown you as the storm that stripped them bare. And here's the part that burns them deepest. You don't even need to swing the blade. They destroyed themselves trying to destroy you. All you had to do was survive, rise, and let the fire they lit consume its makers. You are the prophecy fulfilled, the reckoning they birthed, the nightmare they laughed into existence. Their hate thought it killed you. Instead, it made you immortal. Like, comment, and subscribe.